12:01, ladies and gentlemen. As mentioned, I said we would have a guest on the phone. He is a newcomer to recordings, but he's been singing for many, many years. Please welcome the one and only Chaim Dovid Berson.
Hi, Yossi. Hi to all the listeners. Great to be on your show.
Chaim Dovid, this is the first time I think we've actually spoken. I've never actually bumped into you at a wedding yet.
I know. Better late than never.
Better late. I think it's just the fact that we're at a different place in our lives. I mean, we're both in our 30s. I would say, at least I think you are. I'm in my upper 30s, and most of my crowd isn't getting married every night. And a lot of the relatives have gotten through that hump over there. So I'm not going out of weddings every night. I'm sure if I did, I'd bump into you at least 15 times a year, probably.
Yes. It's still nice to go to weddings. You come, you introduce yourself, and it could be a nice activity and you love music, so it's a home run right there.
You're definitely right. The question is, how many nights a year are you actually performing in Lakewood, though?
That's a good question. I've been out there recently a few times, but true. Not most of my weddings are not all the way out there, and although they're great wedding halls and the weddings are beautiful there, I'm happy not to have to drive an hour and a half from the city down to Lakewood. So I take them when they come, but I'm also happy if the weddings are closer.
Right. So Chaim, tell me, Chaim Dovid. I mean, I hear a little bit of an accent in your voice. I remember reading a while ago that you were born and raised in Yerushalayim, and you are the chief cantor of the prestigious Manhattan Jewish Center. And over the years, I've seen, videos pop up here and there. I believe it was probably Aaron Applebaum of Nafshenu Orchestra that first, introduced me to who you are. So why don't you tell me how you came to be in this business, especially in the United States?
So that's all true, what you mentioned. I was born and raised in Israel. I grew up there and lived there for most of my life till about 8 years ago. When I got the job, I was hired to be the Chazan, to be the cantor at the Jewish Center on the Upper West Side. And I moved from Eretz Yisrael straight to the Upper West Side. Before then, I was a full-time wedding singer in Israel for many years. And I also was a Chazan, so I would travel. Mm-hmm. I was a Chazan for a couple of years in Montreal and for the high holidays and, Pesach gigs all over the world and different weekends and stuff like that. But I was in the music business since I started officially, I guess, when I was 18, 19.
So this is something you've thought about for a while. This is what you wanted to do with your life.
It's very interesting. Hashem sort of has a plan for everyone. Sometimes we know it. Sometimes we think it's what we want. Sometimes I can say one thing. I love music, and I just wanted to do it for the love of it. And I really enjoyed it. And I'm very, very blessed that the path also opened up, and it worked out that I can also work in that field and make a living from sharing music with people, and it's amazing. It's not that I can say that I always had a plan and that's what I wanted to do, but if someone would have told me that's what I'm going to do, I would have been very happy. And thank God, so far, so good.
So tell me, you say you're a music fan since you're young, growing up in Eretz Yisrael in that time. What were your influences? What did you grow up listening to? Was it Israeli? Was it American?
So I grew up listening to the mainstream Muzika Hasidit, what they like calling in Israel.
Okay.
If it's Avram Fried, MBD, Regesh, Devekos, the Pircheis, of course, Uncle Moishi. We had a lot of, my parents are American. Mm-hmm. They made Aliyah. So we did have a lot of the American stuff at home as well. So we loved music in the family, and we always used to listen. And it's something I always tell people. Today, it's amazing. There's so much out there and it's so accessible, but at the same time, in a way, we lost we don't have the time, the attention to sit down and just listen to music. So that was my entertainment. That was my fun thing to do when I was a kid. I used to just listen to music, and when new stuff came out, I would be the first one to get the cassettes back then, before CDs, and I loved it. Loved listening to Jewish music.
Now tell me, Chaim Dovid, you said you were living in Eretz Yisrael and then you moved to Manhattan. What was that culture shock like? I mean, Eretz Yisrael, always sunny, always warm, kids finishing school at, like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And you're going to the city. They call it, what do they call it? The brick jungle.
The Big Apple.
No, but they call Manhattan like the cement jungle. Everything's all very little trees, very little greenery, all buildings. What was that like for you?
Right. It obviously was it was very different, and it was a big adjustment. And it's still, when we had like this freezing cold weather these last couple of weeks, that does remind me, it does make me miss home again. And it's things that it's hard to get used to. It's different in so many ways. So a lot of things I adjusted to, things I'm still discovering and still figuring out. Mm-hmm. It was, it was for a good cause and for something that I want to do, and meeting new people and joining a new community, and it's amazing. And I see it as something it's a good challenge. And growing up in Yerushalayim, it's definitely different, but at the same time, in some ways, it's urban living. I was living in a city.
Right.
So moving from a city to a city, in some ways, it's different than almost moving from the suburbs here to the Upper West Side, which could be, in a way, another different kind of adjustment.
No,
but New York's New York.
I definitely hear that. Chaim Dovid Berson with us via telephone. We're discussing his brand new album, 10 Lanu Chaim. So Chaim, take me on a journey. So you moved to New York, you become a chazan, and the funny thing is you're now in a very select group of people. There are not many people who are chazanim who actually do weddings. They'll do a chuppah here or there, but they don't actually become wedding singers. How did you bridge that gap, and how did you branch out? I mean, you said you were a wedding singer in Eretz Yisrael, but now you're doing Chazzonus, so you have to learn a different style of singing.
Yeah, that's a very good question, Yossi, and it's something that I ask myself all the time. Who am I? What do I do? But the truth is that if you want to call it a hybrid, mm-hmm. It's something. Music has common things, and no matter what genre of music you're singing, there's things that are the same, and stylistically, it is something I ask myself, because sometimes the Chazzonus goes into the singing, sometimes the singing goes into the Chazzonus, and I think at the end of the day, it's something that I think that's special, that I can mesh the two, I can combine the two. And I grew up, like I said, I didn't really grow up with Chazzonut. I grew up with regular Jewish music, and I love it. Right. And I love the energy, and I love the feel. And that's what I started with. And when the Chazzonut came in, I felt like I'll take the strength and the qualities of both and put them together. And in today's day and age also, like I went to cantorial school and I studied Chazzonut proper, and I appreciated and love Chazzonut. But at the end of the day, what people want to hear is not so much what we call the heavy stuff. They want something. They want a proper chazan who knows the nusach, who can lead a proper davening.
Right. They want to hear.
They want it infused.
They want to hear nusach. Yeah. They want to hear bal tefillah, but they don't necessarily want to hear the heavy cantorial pieces. So I try to take the qualities from both worlds and fuse them together. People love to sing along. I take current and contemporary nigunim and songs and put them into davening. While when you know the rules and the guidelines of the structure, musical structure of davening, you can do that in the best way. Because you're not just the part of the problem is today is that a lot of people bring tunes that are beautiful tunes, but they put them into parts of davening that it just doesn't match. It doesn't interpret the words. It's sort of forcing something on something that doesn't really fit. And the nusach has musical modes and frameworks that you're supposed to work in, and these are things that are going with us for as long as we can record. And it's something that's good to know. And that's what I do. I kind of, sometimes I lean a little more towards the Chazzonus. I find myself doing like these hardcore Chazzonus concerts, and sometimes it's, the pop and jumping up and down, and I think they're all great. I don't think they contradict each other. Right. So tell me, Chaim Dovid. So you're in the States. You're a chazan in Manhattan. You're doing weddings at nights. I believe you started off with Aaron Applebaum and the Shenu. Now you think you branched out to everybody else. How did you decide to put out an album, and then how did you get to your producer, or did Sruly approach you about doing an album? I mean, how did this all come about?
So recording and putting out an album is something that's been a long time, a dream of mine to do something of my own, to share my music, to do it properly, do a project, an original project, and it's something that I really was looking forward to. And as you know, there's so many parts to it, both financially and, working with the right people, finding the right songs, and actually doing it. So it's theoretically, the idea has been there for many years. About, I'd say, 3 years ago, I made a decision that I really want to take the next step to do this. And I was introduced by a mutual friend to Sruly. I was actually working with, if you know the name, Tzvi Blumenfeld.
Sure. Blue Rhythm label.
Yes, exactly. So I was working with him in his studio on a different project. I've been in the studios many times before, but not obviously for my own album.
Right.
And we were discussing this idea and this project, and he said, I've been working here. I think he was working on Mordechai Shapiro's album at the time.
Okay.
And he said, let me introduce you to Sruly Meyer. And we sat down, we met, and it was a great meeting, and we both it clicked. And we felt that let's get started. And then, it's a long journey. First thing was finding materials, and we listened to hundreds and hundreds of songs, and they came from all over. And making the decisions, trying to really identify the potential of every song that we got, and if it works for me, if it works for today, if it works in the context of the album. And every album has like 10, 12 songs. There's sort of a structure, and every song has to fill a certain box, and you want to give a variety that people should, it shouldn't all sound the same. So you got to find different styles and different types of songs. And once, that was the whole process. And at some point we moved on to finding the right arrangers for every song and sending it out. And as you can see, there's a long list of arrangers from all over the world. Really, the top guys in the business. There's some are old school, some are like new talent. There's a lot of new talent out there. That's amazing. And that's, that was the process. And some things happened early. Some things, there's some songs that I just recorded and arranged like a few months ago. And there's some that have been done, 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. So it was a long process, but it was amazing. It was very, most of the time, very enjoyable. And it was hard work, but it was totally worth it.
I've gone through the album, and you're right. Rock Geula, Eli Klein, Yossi Zweig to Lanu Chaim, a Yerli Dickman arrangement, Tzvi Blumenfeld by Lama, and then Nissim. It's various different flavors. It's definitely a commendable first album. Definitely it will introduce people to who you are. As far as what your sound is, I'm still learning it, but I'm sure it must have been a learning curve for you. I mean, you grow up listening to music, but you have no idea what the other side is, creating it and going through these songs and then trying to figure out, okay, do I want to do a little Chazzonus in the album? Okay, I don't want to do too much Chazzonus because I want it to be a mainstream album, but which songs do I do Chazzonus in? I mean, Sruly's worked with Benny and with Mordechai Shapiro and many other projects, but he's never worked with a Chazan like you. So what was that like? The give and take between the two of you, because you've never done an album and he's never worked with an artist as unique as yourself.
Right. So that's been something that we discussed a lot, and as you can see from the album, listening to it, that there are hints, very very subtle hints every now and then that people can pick up on, like the more classical training and maybe a little of that color. But the idea was to put out a mainstream, straightforward, pop album, and that's really what it is. It's not Chazzonus by all means, and it's something that I find people, when they hear that I'm a Chazan or they hear that I'm a Kinter, they right away think one thing, and part of it was to show that that's not really all I am, or that there are other sides, and that can be done well. It doesn't necessarily mean because you're a Chazan that you're locked into a certain style and a certain sound.
Well, I definitely agree with you, and I definitely see that. And, of course, I see a lot of these songs can be sung at weddings. One that's doing fairly well that came in at number 4 last night in our countdown was Neranina, which is usually a slower song. It starts off fairly slow, but then it picks up by the high part, and people are really digging it. Like I said, you have the song featured, the one and only Nissim Black, Kulanu Nizamer, which is a very different style. And yeah, if you think Chazan, you're definitely not thinking Kulanu Nizamer. I mean, how did you decide that, wow, let's already doing pop and let's do electronic music with Jan Frater. Let's stick Nissim into this song.
So, let's go backwards. he did an amazing job, and he really brought his style and his angle, and he wrote the lyrics that he sang, and with his own with his special feel. It really, I think, took the song to another level.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got the song originally, was composed by Mordechai Brizel, which also is a new upcoming name on the list of composers. He's done a whole bunch of the latest hits.
Mm-hmm.
It was great, and I loved it, and that's why I said I want this song. At the same time, the song is describing like a party. It's describing a wedding, everyone coming together. We're just here to dance and to be Mesameach Chassan V'Kala. It's pretty straightforward. And I just felt that I wanted to add another element to it. To really, if we're going in that direction, we're going in that style, let's take the next step. Let's make it real. Let's spice it up. And we were looking for ideas for quite a while, and then we had this idea of bringing in Nisim, and I think it was a good move. I love the result. I think it's a great energy, and hopefully it's something that will pick up, and I can sing at weddings and get people going. It's something when I hear it, I want to dance. It's a fun song.
I definitely agree with you, and it's fun listening to as a listener. Looking through your booklet here, I mean, first of all, it's been a few weeks since your albums came out. What kind of response are you getting from fans and peoples at Simchas that you've been performing at since the album was released?
So far, great stuff. It's getting stuff out there is another project on its own. Where that's what we're talking about, and it takes a little bit of time, getting the CD out there, getting the music so people can hear it. Once they hear it, then hopefully it's a lot easier. And again, when you're relatively a new name on the market, so it's not, people are not looking for it. It needs to get to them somehow.
Mm-hmm. Well, we know we've been playing it a lot here, and we know we've been getting positive response.
I heard, and that's great. And I've been getting responses, and like you said, you mentioned you played in Iran, and I've been getting a lot of comments about that. People really like this. It's like a surprising song.
That definitely
you
is.
Expect it to go in one direction, and suddenly it comes in another direction, and it's a lot of fun, and it works somehow.
Mm-hmm.
It's also something there was a lot of work that went into bringing it to the final result that it is now. And the songs are great. I've sung a few of the fast songs at weddings. They work. The more people learn them, the more people are familiar with them. I think they would work even more.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still fresh off the press. So it's new, but so far responses, and I think the things work. And I'm excited to more opportunities to share them and to have people dancing to them.
No, definitely do that. Ladies and gentlemen, with us via telephone, the one and only Chaim Dovid Berson, discussing his debut album, Lanu Chaim, produced by Sruly Meyer, available through Nigun Music, available for digital download online, iTunes, Amazon Music, Google Play. Chaim Dovid, as I'm going through the playlist, I see there's a lot of things here that have to do with weddings. Lanu Chaim is talking about Chassan V'Kala. Imesh Kachech, of course, you sing, a lot of people do it after chuppahs. And then your own composition, Ba'ikala. Was this a theme because of constantly performing at weddings, or it just ended up working out like this?
It's both. And honestly, in our world, the platform for music is mainly weddings. I mean, that's where people hear music. That's where people need music. That's where the trends are, and that's where we share our music. We do have concerts and shows, but they're not as frequent as weddings. And everyone goes to weddings. Not everyone goes to shows, or not everyone has the time to go to shows.
Correct.
So it's really that's the field.
Plus, there's no free food at shows.
Yeah, that's true. Someone's paying for it regardless, but yes.
All right. So, Chaim Dovid, tell me, if people want to book you or get in contact with you, is there a website or an email address, a phone number?
They can call me directly, or they can email me. Actually, that'll probably be best. If it's CD Berson, which is a good name, CD as Chaim Dovid Berson, Berson @gmail.com. They can also always get me through. We work together with. I work together with Nafshenu Orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
They could always contact Nafshenu, and they should come out and see us, hear us, and I look forward to.
We're definitely
singing and dancing with everyone. Yeah,
definitely hope to see great things from you. First song, Sruly sent me, Rock Geula. Definitely a very, very unique song. Great song to start off the album with. Also want to mention some great photography of you in the booklet and your social media, and of course cover. I'm not sure who did your photography. Cover was done by Sruly Meyer, the producer. The photography, who did the photography? Some really nice pictures of you in here.
Her name is Nechama. You can see her in the credits. She's from Crown Heights. We did a photo shoot a while back already. If you remember the single that came out,
that was
we did a couple of pictures.
Echad Hashem,
right, which is a great song, and it's been on as a single. Now we put it as the last song, but not because it's any less. We figured people have heard it already. So
correct.
But it's a great. She did it on Chama Leitner, yeah.
Okay, Chaim.
Great job.
I want to wish you a warm winter. That's what we tell people here, especially for somebody from Eretz Yisrael. We're going to play you out with the title track, Lanu Chaim. Is there anything you can tell me about this track before we let you go?
Composed and arranged by Yossi Zweig, which is he's a good friend of mine from Israel and really a superstar. He's got it all. He's very, very talented and a super guy. And he actually wrote the song and he sent it to me. I loved it, and it's been a while in the making. And he brought. You can hear that arrangement. There's so much there. It's really a fun to listen to, and musically also it goes between a few styles.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of on a reggae feel a little bit, and then it goes into like a rock shuffle. It's full of energy, and the message is so straightforward and just Ten Lanu Chaim aruchim uvruchim. Just give us long and blessed life. That's all we want. We're not asking for more than that.
And this is something they get today, being Rosh Chodesh, and we just had Rosh Chodesh benching. We're asking for a good month-long life, parnasa, all the good stuff. So. Right.
So for the Nusach of Birkas HaChodesh, exactly. It's something that we all need, we all can use, and if we get the Chaim Arukim from God, I'm sure we'll. It's up to us to maximize it. But if God gives it to us, then obviously He has a plan, and we can do great things.
100%. Chaim, I want to wish you... Yes?
Yeah, just go ahead. Yeah.
I want to wish you a great long winter. I hope you see a lot of Hatzlacha from this album. I know we're enjoying it here at the network, and I hope we're going to see some videos coming out with you lately, so maybe a music video here or there from the album? Yes, stay tuned. They will be out shortly. We're working on a couple of things, and hopefully we can share them really soon. And it's great things. And thank you, Yossi. Thank you so much for everything you do, and for Jewish music, and for promoting, and for bringing, getting it out there, getting quality stuff and enjoyable music to the Jewish people. And it's great. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much. My pleasure, Chaim Dovid. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Chaim Dovid Berson here off his album. It's the title track, Lanu Chaim, composed, arranged, and conducted by the one and only Yossi Zweig. And you, my friends, are tuned into the Z Report live on the Jewish Entertainment Network.
רחמו תן לכולנו חיים ארוכים וברוכים אבינו רחמו אבינו